Have you ever wondered why it's so difficult to let go of the past? Well, in this video, we'll discuss that topic. And we'll also discuss how do we let go of the past if it's so difficult. In order to begin this discussion, I want you to think about something. When was the last time you got upset? Like, I mean, really upset. And then, where did that come from? In other words, where in the body did that feeling of upset come from? Because oftentimes we think that it comes from the mind or the brain. But if you think about that last time, I think you might find that it came from the gut. And in fact, there's a statement that says, "Why are we bringing up the past?" Bringing up the past. Right in that statement, it acknowledges the fact that those feelings start in the gut. When we get really upset, it starts from the stomach. And why is that? Well, the stomach or the gut holds over 100 billion neurons. Now, neurons are the same things that the brain uses to create thought. And so you could say that the gut has the ability to think. Now, it doesn't have the ability to think in pictures, but it certainly has the ability to store memory. And that's where we really are after. That's where those memories are stored. And because they're stored in the gut, it makes it impossible to affect them by thinking. And so, from the get go, one of the reasons why it's so difficult to let go of the past is because we're affecting or trying to affect the past by thought. And what we really need to do is affect the past by feeling. So, what do we do? Well, first of all, it's important that we allow those feelings to be in the first place. Oftentimes we do most of our damage by resisting those feelings, by saying in our mind that we shouldn't feel that way, or trying to push those feelings down, ignore those feelings, or pretend that they don't exist. And in reality, the body will continue to bring them up to us because there's a reason why we're feeling the way that we are. Those feelings are really intended to protect us. And in some cases, it does protect us from danger. But in most cases, it doesn't. Those feelings are just there to simply say, hey, remember this one time that this happened very similar to this? I want you to take a look at that and see if it doesn't match with the situation that you're in now. That's all the body's trying to do. That's all the gut is trying to do with those memories. But because we can't process them properly and we're not accepting them into our lives and being okay that they're there, they become stronger and stronger and stronger. And we have no idea why they get so strong. So simply allowing them to be part of our life, acknowledging that they're there, and even maybe saying to them playfully in our mind, hey, I see that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, but I don't need that information right now. That's not something I need, but I acknowledge it. For some reason, just allowing those feelings to come in takes all the power out of them. It's hard to explain, but it's true. And then I want you to think about something else. There's a statement by an individual named Jocko. He's an ex Marine, he's very famous. He goes around and he does speeches and he talks about what it was like to go through some very very traumatic things in war. And one of his statements that I appreciate the most is he says, now that I know how dark it can get, I know how dark it can get. Now that I know how dark it can get, I truly appreciate the light. And so what he's saying is, now that I know how dark it can get, like, it can get pretty dark without us losing our life. And if we lose our life, at that point, there's not much that can be done anyways. Does that make sense? It's this play on, like, hey, if you're breathing, if you've got a shot, then it can get better. And then he says, now that I know how dark it can get, I truly appreciate the light. we can appreciate how good things are because of the challenges that we've gone through. We can take the challenges from the past, no matter how disgusting or terrible it was, and somehow see a positive in it. If nothing else, we can see how, when something good happens to us, how amazing that is. At least we have something to compare it to. But there's never a moment where what's happened in our past should destroy our future. Never. Because there's always something good that comes from the past, even if it's so dark that you can't talk to anyone about it. So remember, your feelings don't come from your mind, they come from your gut. Acknowledge the fact that those feelings, even though they're out of control, are intended to truly help you, and allow them in. And you'll be surprised at how easily they dissolve. And finally, find the good in everything. Realize that as long as you're breathing, you've always got a shot. And life can always be better by simply just realizing that, hey, you know what? You're not back there. You're here. And you've got a chance at a good life right now.